a gummy bear.
Hey everybody, welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Nintendo poisoning the well for used games, and will that next Final Fantasy return to turn-based? It's going to be a good one because we have Jan Ochoa on the show. Jan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be maybe the first repeat 2 days in a row guest on GMM. Also, Grubb,
Yeah.
I watched Superman yesterday.
How was it?
Yes, it was very good. It has all the James Gunn gunnerisms, and I enjoyed it a lot. I thought of our big dog, Mikey O'Leary, the whole time because he's a big Superman fan. Also, I guess Greg Miller. And I was happy for the both of them.
Yep. Yeah, it does seem like a lot of Superman fans are happy. I have some other Superman fans in my life who are like less happy, and I'm happy to report they're not like unhappy because they're Snyder guys. They also hated those movies, so it might just be impossible to please. Man, if you're not getting what you need from Snyder or James Gunn, where else can you possibly go?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this movie. Will I have a chance to see it anytime soon? Probably not, but I want to check it out for sure. I'm mad at you though, because I'm sure you told me about it before, but you weren't adamant enough. I really want an Osmo Pocket 3. Is that what it is? And they're expensive now. They got expensive
now. They're a little bit hard to find as well.
Yeah.
I should have been banging. Here's what we do, Grubb. We throw the blame to another person.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah.
Because Bacalar had it way before any of us. If you remember, at the TGAs, he had it. And he just threw it in his pocket. He was recording us all around.
He was doing it on the slide, didn't say anything, was kind of being a little bit, like sneaky about it, kind of keeping it down there. Yep.
I know.
I'm ready to blame Bacalar for it. Okay, sounds good.
I know that Matt Rory's notorious for liking the game Mr. Shifty, but Bacalar was being a little Mr. Shifty.
Yeah. So I got a gimbal, but I have to put my phone in it, and it always hits the volume button. It's kind of annoying to use that way, and like seeing the quality that you're getting out of that Osmo. What I'm really saying is, hi DJI. DJI. Yeah. What's up, dude? What's up?
Send Grubb a drone and a Osmo Mobile 3. Send me the action cam. I'll get over my hatred of GoPros and action cams, please.
Yeah, but GoPro could still be the problem. Action cams from DJI, though, thumbs up.
Please.
Yeah, I want to mess around with that stuff, especially like having like this new kitten running around. Like, it'd be great to take a bunch of video right now and turn her into a social media star. Make money off this animal.
Yeah,
better than nothing.
Super premium tier, you get access to all of the GB pets.
I think that's not a bad idea. Yeah, let's make it happen. All right, let's explain ourselves. Someone better. Hey, we're Giant Bomb. Go to giantbomb.com/join. And if you do that, you can help us create stuff like this, do cool things like we did at Summer Game Fest, have a lot of other cool ideas pop off. We're in the planning phase for a bunch of fun things. But really, we just, we could use your support. And we know there's a lot of you out there that want to support us. And you could do that by going to giantbomb.com/join. Gets you ad-free episodes, a bunch of stuff like that. As far as this show goes, for most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with the FBI has seized a Switch ROM site as part of a law enforcement operation. This comes from Ollie Reynolds at Nintendo Life. A major Switch ROM site, NSW2U, has been seized by the FBI as part of a law enforcement operation. As reported by Kotaku, NSW2U was one of the better-known repositories of Switch ROMs, which allowed users with hacked Switch consoles to download first and third-party games at will, often before their official release dates. In other words, then it's a website that Nintendo was probably keen to vaporize quicker than, Thanos snapping his finger. The full message reads, "This domain has been seized by the Federal Bureau of Investigation in accordance with a seizure warrant issued pursuant to 18 USC 2323, issued by the United States District Court for the Northern District of Georgia as part of a law enforcement operation and action by the FBI." Apparently, the FBI, worked with a Dutch law enforcement organization to actually go in there and do this. Nintendo is activating the FBI, courts in Georgia, European law agencies to take down these websites. It is still very serious about this, and I'm like, kind of like looking at this, Jan, and be like, is this them continuing the dialed up, we are going to salt the earth for piracy and all this stuff that they've been on, or is this still like a remnant from, hey, we're launching a new console, let's like really kind of go reset things a little bit, kind of go at like, pluck some weeds that are these websites, and then throw them out and hope that we can buy ourselves some time for the Switch 2 to not have to deal with as much piracy. And this doesn't have anything to do with Switch 2 piracy itself, but it seems like the kind of thing that would discourage someone else from wanting to start another website that might have anything to do with Switch 2 piracy. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I don't necessarily see a ROM site which may be catered to, generally older games and not current gen. I don't think this would de-incentivize someone to stop their work on hacking the Switch 2. If anything, I think this may embolden someone. But this does really stink, Grubb, for game preservation. 100%. Like, I understand Nintendo wanting to crack down on piracy, but sometimes, there are just games or even fan translations that are not easily accessible. Or, I don't know, maybe perhaps the game cartridge or game cart breaks, and it's one of your favorite games, and you just want to go back and preserve and play through that. This really does stink, and I would hope that not only Nintendo, but perhaps the FBI have bigger fish to fry than this.
Yeah, that's the thing for sure. Yeah, it's like today's piracy turns into tomorrow's preservation for sure.
Yeah,
where a lot of the work done to ensure the long-term accessibility of these games is done in the moment so that people can play free shit. So it's hard to untwine or pull those things apart. But Nintendo has the right to go out and do stuff to protect itself if it wants. I just think it's always so heavy-handed, so draconian, so like just a sledgehammer hitting an ant over and over again. Because we could see the numbers, we could see how well the Switch 1 was doing and how well the Switch 2 is doing now. Again, that doesn't mean that they shouldn't do anything, I guess, but I don't see this having much of a difference one way or the other. And it does feel like it might have a bit of a chilling effect on this space where the guy that's the hobbyist, the whoever's going to be doing the work to get an emulator built or to rip some games, they're doing it because they're a hobbyist and that's what they want to do. But then like getting that collected into one space online, I could see that being a collective effort, and that's the kind of stuff that Nintendo's trying to throw a bowling ball into to knock it all down. And I think it will buy them a little time, but I'm skeptical that will make much difference in the end. But again, Nintendo's got a ton of money to spend to try to do stuff like this, and so they're doing it, and it's a little bit scary to see.
Grubb, you use the metaphor of like a sledgehammer and an ant, but like, an ant is so tiny in comparison to a sledgehammer that I feel like there's a strong likelihood of the ant just scurrying away. And I feel like that is going to continue to happen with these ROM sites. You squash one, and then the ant will get away and continue to go back to its colony or start a whole new colony, right? Like, there is a very strong likelihood that just because the FBI and Nintendo targets one big ROM site, that doesn't stop another ROM site or even a Google Drive from being shared around on these communities. And the unfortunate part is when you do make these strong, loud efforts to tamp down on piracy, Rob, it just encourages more.
But yeah, people are like, well, we better get serious about this so that we can ensure the long-term viability of some of these things. So yeah, and that there's going to be people with those sorts of attitudes. As Sean points out in chat, it's weird that they did they kind of went after Yuzu and the emulators first before going after stuff like this, because this is clearly in violation of copyright law.
Sure.
Like, this is clearly something that they can do something about, and they can wield the power of the FBI to do something about this, because the FBI enforces copyright law, according to every VHS tape that I started as a kid. Yeah, so
right.
yeah, so it's like I get that to a certain degree, but them doing this in conjunction with, we're going to try to really disrupt the development of emulators, just makes them look like the bad guy to me. Yeah, and I'm like, I have less patience for it because of that. It's like, oh, well, they're just enforcing copyright law. I could give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm like willing to do that sometimes, but here it's just like, it's very clear what you're trying to do, and you're just trying to disrupt that whole scene and make it more difficult for anyone to work in that space, because Nintendo could come down on you. And that, pretty similar to the next story, but from the consumer point of view. You might want to be careful buying pre-owned Switch 1 games for your Switch 2. This is from Gavin Lane at Nintendo Life. It's come to light since Switch 2 launched that Nintendo is cracking down on people who make copies of its software, legitimate or otherwise, by banning consoles it detects playing copies of Switch 1 games, a worry for anyone considering a secondhand Switch 2. Why is this a concern, Jan? Because you go to Facebook Marketplace, like this person on Reddit did.
Mm-hmm.
You get the used games, but the used games are used and being sold because the person bought those games and then downloaded them to their system. That they copied them, and now that those games are circulating online with the serial numbers or whatever, the identifying materials that say it was that card that they're using. So when it goes back out in the wild as just a card, Nintendo can't tell the difference, and it's like, oh, that is one of these games that's copied and being circulated online. So let's go ahead and shut this system down. And that's what happened to this person. And it's like, okay, now the good news, the person got on the phone with Nintendo and was like, hey, look, here's the cards. Here's pictures of the things I actually bought. Here's a picture of the Facebook Marketplace listing. You can see what happened here. I literally own these things. Can you unban my Switch 2? And they did.
Okay.
They went through the process of helping him. But to me, Jan, the damage has been done. Like with something like this, people are now going to start maybe being afraid to get secondhand games, and that chilling effect will be just enough that it's gonna make that marketplace a little bit more difficult. Or the person who would rather save money might be scared of losing their $500 system they just bought, even if Nintendo promises sometimes they'll fix it. They did say something to this guy along the lines of, well, we're able to help you this time, but if it happens again, like that sort of thing, it's like, okay. Are you worried about a chilling effect on the used games market? Because to me, I'm like, Nintendo's getting that unintended effect here, although maybe how unintended is it really? I don't know.
Yeah, 100%, Grubb. This really stinks for people, trying to save a buck, or people that, 100%. I don't think this actually helps Nintendo more by clamping down on used game sales, because how much are they actually going to make over these, take GameSpot or GameStop out of the equation. Just going from a person-to-person sales, I don't think that person that is going to Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, other reselling websites, I don't think if their game gets bricked that they're going to be incentivized to go buy that game again. I think if anything, they'd just be sad. This stinks.
Yep.
This stinks, Grubb, because think about the people that desperately want a Switch 2 and are super excited to get one, and someone on Facebook Marketplace throws in a couple games because they just want to get rid of it. They need some money, and then the person buying it just receives a brick after activating their Switch 2. This doesn't make any sense to me, because this kind of feels like the antithesis, Grubb, of what Miyamoto was talking about in the news story we brought up yesterday, of really designing a product for the consumer. This feels anti-consumer through and through.
It's at least hostile. Like it's it definitely feels like, oh, this is something that I shouldn't have to worry about, because there's an understanding of the way this has worked. And really, I think I don't know for sure, but it seems to me like the used game market and the new game market has found this sort of equilibrium of, hey, developers used to be and publishers used to be very worried about the used game market. They're probably less so, because it just is not as robust as it maybe once was, because GameStop is less viable than it once was.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. But to me, it seems like they don't need to be doing what Xbox was thinking about doing at the beginning of the Xbox One, of forcing people to go through hoops for used games or whatever it was going to be. And every little layer of friction you add on top of a transaction like this, whether that's perceived or not, and the perception here would be maybe if I get a used game, my Switch 2 could stop working. Every little fraction there doesn't, chips away at this space a little bit more. And part of the value of buying a game physically is that you can do what you want with it on the used market.
Yeah.
And kind of getting in the way of that is something I think Nintendo should do their best to avoid. And it doesn't seem like they really care. And
No.
of course they don't, because it's not really about any of their money. So I get it from an intellectual level, but the chilling effect this could have, I find to be very frustrating, and Nintendo should do something to stop that from happening.
Because, Grubb, I think about instances where perhaps maybe you're sharing a cartridge with your own household, and maybe you just have different Nintendo accounts. Something similar could happen where, I just
wouldn't put it past it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I just gave, like, my kid or, like, my cousin, my sibling, a game card because I wanted them to check it out, or they wanted to check it out. And then their Switch 2 gets bricked because of the same instance of the serial number getting brought up online on a different system.
Right. And I like you would hope that there'd be protections against something like that happening. But I just, to me, all this sounds like Nintendo's not so worried about false positives. It is just trying to do as much as it can to run roughshod on not the used game market necessarily, but piracy, and that's having a lot of other effects. And like, so what? We got to do this, and it could go that far where it's like maybe they don't have full protections in that stuff. And the fact that that's the point here is that we're having this conversation about this far-fetched possibility, but the fact that we're considering it just shows like I don't really fully trust Nintendo about this stuff right now. And do they care? Well, they're making a lot of money, so of course they don't.
I wonder, Grubb, what are the actual numbers, and I don't know if those are available anywhere or if anyone has been able to track them, about how much piracy is decreased through Nintendo's efforts versus how many, I guess, let's say, innocent people have been caught in the crossfire of Nintendo's efforts to clamp down on piracy, that either consoles are getting bricked or accounts are getting delisted or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the frustrating things with this kind of thing is that this person went on Reddit, kind of told their whole story. Human nature is usually like when something breaks, you assume it's like something else is going on, and not everyone goes through the open channels to them to get their stuff fixed and goes and calls Nintendo and says, hey, can you fix this up for me? Now that's on them, I suppose. But in this case, it's like if Nintendo bricked your system because you did nothing wrong, I still feel like there's going to be people who fall through the cracks there and just aren't aware of the ways to get a hold of Nintendo to get it fixed, or would assume they have to just go buy a new one. The number of people during the Xbox 360 bricking thing that they extended that warranty for forever, for a very long time. You could have just got it replaced by sending it in to Microsoft. The number of people I knew who just bought new Xbox 360s was crazy. So that's human nature. And I just feel like Nintendo is kind of doesn't care about any of that, not really paying attention to the effects that it's having in a second-hand way, and it's causing problems that they just don't care to solve. I'm frustrated by it. All right. Let's. Go ahead.
Real quick, Grubb. Like I know that the example gets brought up a lot jokingly of like, the parent or the grandparent that tries to buy their kid a Switch 2 or grandkid a Switch 2, but those people especially, and then the little kid that they're trying to buy that gift for, they're especially not going to know what happens when they buy something secondhand and it fires up fine, but then it breaks.
Yeah, and I see like Rizlo in chat saying that chances of this happening to someone are ridiculously low. For now, I don't I've been buying stuff secondhand for a long time. I don't do so much anymore, but for a while there, during the Xbox 360 era, if you were trying to buy an Xbox 360 on Craigslist, you had to do a lot of work to make sure it wasn't banned from being online, because there was a lot of hacked Xbox 360s. It was rare until it wasn't, and then it was very common to run into a bricked Xbox 360 or a bricked for online play Xbox 360. So it's rare for now. I don't think it's going to be rare for that long if there's a situation where people are dumping these games frequently. that's just dumping, maybe. And maybe like that is a thing where it's like only one copy needs to be dumped. And once it's online, it's online. Sure. But that's for now. Like, what if we get to a situation where there is like game repros or something like that? That's the kind of thing that very quickly could get out of hand. So yeah, for now it's rare. I don't think it's rare enough, and that was never really the point. The chilling effect is the thing I'm definitely worried about, where just people hear these stories and get worried about it, and they're less willing to spend money on the used market, and it kind of causes that whole thing to crumble even more. Okay. Let's you know what, Jay, let's take a break. We're gonna go to a break real quick. If you don't want to hear this, you go to giantbomb.com/join. Can get the ad-free version of the show, but you didn't do that, so let's go to this right now. This episode of Giant Bomb is brought to you by giantbomb.com/join. Join us there, become a member. It helps us make fun stuff. It gets you ad-free content. It also helps us make some extras here and there that we'll give exclusively to you as members. It's giantbomb.com/join for $10 a month or $100 a year, where you save $20. You can support us in making all the cool stuff that we make over here at Giant Bomb. Once again, that's giantbomb.com/join. Become a member now. It's Game Mess Mornings. We're back. I'm Jeff Grubb. That's Jan Ochoa. Let's get back into the headlines. iFixit performs a full teardown of Nintendo's what it calls piss poor Pro controller from Ollie Reynolds at Nintendo Life. That's a good phrase. Repair firm iFixit has performed a full teardown of the Switch 2's Pro controller, delivering a scathing review of the repairability and potential durability of the accessory. Ultimately, it calls the Pro controller a piss poor excuse for a controller. But why? Well, watching the video reveals just how tricky it is to actually get into the Pro controller, with Nintendo applying adhesives to the front faceplates, lots of hidden screws and thumb grips that need an uncomfortable amount of force to remove. Essentially, iFixit believes that the work required to simply reach the controller's battery for potential replacement is far too difficult for the average consumer. That's the one for me. It's like, if it's piss poor in a lot of other ways, fine. But I want to be able to replace the battery, because the batteries on these things last for, single digit years. Maybe 4 to 5 years on average. But I've definitely had ones that lasted 2 or 3, and not with a ton of use either. And by last, I mean, so now when I go to like unplug it and use it wirelessly, it's lasting for like 45 minutes before it needs to be charged again. And I want to be able to replace the batteries on these things. It's one of the reasons I still have a soft spot for the Xbox style controllers that use the batteries, AA batteries, because I like to just be able to swap those in and not worry about the lithium ion battery in there going bad and then causing me a headache. But I also like to have the option. Sometimes I do like a USB powered battery, inside a controller, because that's also convenient in its own way. But I want to be able to replace it. So hearing this, it's a little frustrating. I think that controller is definitely better than the Switch 1 Pro controller. I like the D-pad a little bit better, but it does have some of its own problems. It's not as bad as the Switch 1 launch controller was, although it's got some similar issues for the D-pad specifically. Are you surprised to hear this? Because I'm not, because it's Nintendo in a lot of ways. This is just them.
I'm not surprised, but I'm still disappointed, given that they're also charging like upwards to $80 per Switch 2 Pro controller.
Yeah, it went up like during the tariffs. They even like raised it another $5, right? So yeah, it was like 75, and they went up to 80. I can't remember exactly, but it's an expensive controller.
Yeah, and Grubb, a little thing about me, I hate waste. I like, my new apartment building doesn't have a compost bin, and it's killing me inside, but I'm still composting anyway.
Start your own compost heap. Let's do it.
Exactly. And any type of waste, specifically e-waste, just grinds my gears, Grubb. And for the fact that some of these controllers just may be, I feel like today's theme is Nintendo bricking things, and that these may just become plastic bricks in a year's time is unfortunate. What happened, Grubb? What happened to controllers, even third-party controllers, lasting the whole console generation? Because I know what the answer is, unfortunately. Yeah. But like, geez, like you mentioned, those 360 controllers, those still work, right?
Yeah.
Like they are still completely fine. Like I remember back when we had an Office in SF, like those were sometimes the most reliable controllers versus even the wired ones.
Yep. And of course, the thing that the answer to is they want to make money selling controllers. That was a very popular thing in this last generation accessory sales, especially around like the Fortnite stuff, where it's like, I'm gonna have my own controller for when I go to play online with the boys. And I'm gonna get a headset too. And the margins on those things are huge. So they try to make a lot of money there. And yeah, apparently the Pro controller for the Switch 2 went from 80 to 85 with the tariffs. So that's almost $90 for a controller, which is too much. Yeah, I've been taking apart some electronics recently because I'm losing my mind with my Steam Deck. I'm talking to Valve now; they're helping out, thankfully. But I took that thing apart to reset the CMOS by unconnecting or disconnecting the battery, things like that, and letting it sit for a while. And it's very easy to get into that thing. Just a handful of screws, and they're hex screws.
Okay.
So, or security screws. They're not exactly just the easiest ones to do, but if you have the right tool, it is very easy. And I appreciate that. One thing I really like is there are no adhesives. There's no like, for the most part, at least to get to the battery. And I really hate like having to like tear that adhesive apart and be like, okay, am I gonna have to reapply this stuff? What does it even do? And I appreciate engineering that does not rely on that stuff when building a consumer electronics, so we can get in there and not have to deal with that stuff. And it just seems like Nintendo, once again, not really caring about that sort of thing. Now, you could probably send this into Nintendo and get it fixed. It will have them if like your battery goes bad under a certain amount of time. But I'm sure once you're past the warranty, it's just a cost, and it's always going to be cheaper to do it yourself. And it should be easy to replace the battery in something. That's kind of like a baseline thing for me.
Friend of the show, Epos Fox, like added a 2 terabyte hard drive to his 2006 MacBook, and I'm all about that. Like,
yeah, that rules.
I just love being able to go into something that I bought, even if it was like however many years ago, and upgrading the crap out of it, even though it doesn't work. Like I'd love to be able to go into an old iPod and just like increase the storage by an obscene amount.
Yeah, the 16 terabytes in a iPod. Yeah, that would be a good time. I've been checking Facebook Marketplace for a Zune for forever. I want a brown Zune real bad. So if anyone spots one, let me know. I'm going to track it down. All right, let's see. We got the iFixit story. Sakurai, meanwhile, is pouring his heart into making Kirby Air Riders and commemorates Iwata's passing. This is from My Nintendo News. Nintendo developer Masahiro Sakurai has posted a short but sweet update on Kirby Air Riders for the Nintendo Switch 2, saying that he's been pouring his heart into making the game the very best it can be. In the same message, Mr. Sakurai acknowledged the late and great Nintendo president Satoru Iwata, who sadly passed away on this day 10 years ago from a battle with cancer. Our thoughts continue to be with his family, friends, and colleagues. Here's what Mr. Sakurai had to say to his fans on Twitter. Today was the Japanese release date of Kirby Air Ride on the GameCube. It is now on its 22nd anniversary. At the same time, it is also the anniversary of Iwata's passing in 2015. 10 years have passed since then. Iwata and I were born about 10 years apart in age. I'll be catching up to him now, catching up in age now, won't I? Right now, I'm pouring my heart into making Kirby's Air Riders. It's shaping up to be something great. Hey, just nice to hear from Sakurai. Always love when these legendary developers also talk about Iwata, because it seems like they all really loved him. It's just kind of a special, heartwarming thing for me. But I am at a point, Jan, where I'm getting more excited about Kirby Air Riders, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm like, I keep forgetting about that game. I'm like, let's do this. That looks like fun.
Yeah, Kirby Air Riders is sick as hell. Let's go, Sakurai.
Yeah, we should play the game. We should do that GameCube UPF we've been planning for forever.
Yeah,
do some Kirby Air Ride.
Chibi Robo, maybe the Wario 3D game.
Yeah, there you go.
God, there's so many gems. Some of the Pokemon Stadium games for that, like Gale of Darkness, are supposed to be pretty good. And I guess there's probably more party games on that, right?
Yeah, there are some more party games on that, unfortunately. Although there's also WarioWare Mega Micro Games, which is a great party game. So do some of that as well. Yeah, we'll do some Geist.
Ooh,
for sure.
Can we do Odama?
Yeah. Listen, we did Odama that one time. I got the microphone working so that everyone could shout in it, at it. Let's do that again.
Thanks, Odama.
It was a yeah, exactly. It was a great time. I was using the controller, and Mike and Dan, I think, were yelling the commands out to the mic. We had it all connected, and so it would work. So it was a terrible stream, actually, because it was just them yelling various Odama commands, and that's it for 2 hours. Good time. Yeah. Kirby Air Riders. We don't have a release date for this still, right? This is one of those that's just coming out this year. And so it's like one of those games that's part of a list of stuff that's like, Nintendo needs to update us about that. We need the Metroid Prime 4 release date. We need a handful of other things. Pokemon's exact release date, maybe. I don't know. Maybe we did get that one. But there's stuff they need to tell us about, which is why people are like, is there another Direct coming, or is all this stuff going to drop in Nintendo Today, the app that they put out recently? But one way or the other, we still got to find out what's going on with Kirby Air Riders. And I think they probably do that here in September. Maybe not even August. Probably we get to September and they start talking about these things.
Hell yeah.
See. IO addresses Hitman Switch 2 performance issues and says fixes are on the way. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. IO Interactive has addressed the performance issues facing Hitman World of Assassination on the Switch 2 and told VGC that fixes are on the way. Hitman World of Assassination was a launch title for the Switch 2. When the game was released, fans were quick to point out some technical issues with the game, such as stuttering, frame rate dips, and more. Now, IO has told journalist Matthew Reynolds of VGC that the team is working to address the issues and that an update is coming soon. So for Hitman, the team is working on some of those performance issues right now, and they are addressing it over the summer, says franchise director Jonathan Lacayo. No specific date was given for the fixes, but IO has said that the experience of working on Hitman for Nintendo's new system was a great way to gain experience for the hardware. They're going to use that for 007 First Light. Cool. I'm happy to hear this. Yeah. One of the games I was excited about to replay on the Switch 2 was Hitman. The performance is just stuttery enough that I'm like, this runs really well on Steam Deck. And then I say to myself, wait, why does it run so well on Steam Deck and kind of crappy here on the Switch 2? Yeah. And it's like, I think it's just optimization problems. The GPU side of things, it's probably just fine for that game. My guess is it comes down to the CPU. And Hitman's definitely a game with a lot of simulation, a lot of stuff happening, a lot of clockwork elements. It probably is pretty hefty on the CPU. So maybe that's what's holding it back. And so it wasn't just this easy, turn that thing on to the Switch 2 and it'll go. You will have to kind of figure out some ways to get it to work with this PS4 level CPU and a GPU that's plenty powerful for your visuals. I don't know for sure, but that would be my guess. I'm hoping that this can be a test case to show that this stuff can just be fixed up and can run a lot better than the first impressions gave us. But we'll see. Overall, though, like you've been playing a lot of Switch 2 stuff still, Jan. Have you been happy with the performance games overall?
Totally. Yeah, 100%, Grubb. Yeah. Like I think if anything, my brain has been conditioned to kind of expect not potato quality, but like baked potato quality on certain Switch 1 games. Yeah. And then seeing like, oh, this is a nice creamy au gratin on the Switch 2. I've been pleasantly surprised. But you're right, Hitman was a little bit disappointing, but I'm happy to see that IOI is like, no, we're going to fix it. Don't worry. And if there's any studio that I really do trust, it is IOI, minus their publishing wing.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they've learned some lessons there. Also, I do think that this was probably exactly what they said. Them figuring things out and learning stuff and mostly applying that to 007 going forward, which is supposed to come out to the Switch 2. I would expect them to now be able to be like, okay, let's dial things in so the game does just run at a really steady, probably 30 frames per second on the Switch 2. And that would be acceptable. One of the real issues with Hitman is they try to let it run at 60 and then it dips down. It just kind of has this rate, the problem where it's like it's going to go from 60 to 30 constantly up and down and a lot of places in between. And that's really noticeable and kind of hard to play with. And I don't want it to be 30 frames per second locked because I think the game should be able to run higher than that. But at the very least, do something that is going to be more consistent. And I hope they're able to get there. Final Fantasy XVI producer does not rule out that the next mainline game could be turn-based, Jan. This is from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor. We recently reported that Square Enix was confronted with shareholder demands during its latest financial presentation to once again focus on turn-based combat. That's fun. This was done alluding to the success of Claire Obscure Expedition 33, as well as the fact that the studio's last action-focused role-playing game sold worse than expected. In an interview with Anime News Network, Final Fantasy XVI producer Naoki Yoshida was asked if the next numbered Final Fantasy game could be turn-based, and it doesn't seem to be something he's ruling out. On the contrary, he seemingly leaves it completely open. With this question of turn-based versus action, it tends to isolate the gameplay to just the battle system. That doesn't take into account what kind of game the creators want to deliver to players. For example, based on a certain graphical quality we want to present to our players, or the narrative we want to deliver to our players, as it relates to how we set the game's systems around it. This includes the battle system, game design, gameplay feel. It's not a clear-cut answer, whether it will become all turn-based or if it's going to become more action-based. I'm not necessarily going to be on Final Fantasy XVII, so we also don't want to obstruct or limit our future director or whomever will be producing the game, like 17 or even 18. We don't want to put them on a rail. Yeah, I think they should have the option to like try to explore a bunch of different stuff, but they should probably make it turn-based. I don't know.
Yeah, I never know what to make of these stories, Grubb, because like when they draw comparisons to Claire Obscure, I feel like it's not just because it was or is turn-based that game was such a hit. There were just multiple different factors going in.
Yes, very true. But turn-based clearly didn't hurt it the way that I think there was a consensus at Square Enix of like, we are going to be limiting ourselves if we make it turn-based. And Claire Obscure is proving that's not necessarily the case, as well as Baldur's Gate 3 and a bunch of others.
Yeah, and then you look at, please correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but Final Fantasy XVI launched only on the PlayStation 5, correct? And
yes. So
console exclusivity, folks, that is going to hurt your numbers no matter what, even if the install base is pretty big. So I think there are several factors in play. That being said, I don't mind if it were to go back to turn-based, or perhaps, Grubb, maybe they could make multiple Final Fantasy games, offshoot games that are turn-based, and they can keep trucking along and experiment with the mainline games being whatever they want it to be.
Yep. Yeah. 16 did eventually come to PC and Xbox, but it was like a long road to get there. And I think the hype around it, the word of mouth, had already sort of turned against it a little bit by the time it did that. So yeah, it definitely had an uphill battle when it was available on more platforms. But yeah, it started off PS5 only, and so it had that limited install base because there was quite a few PS5s out there, but not as many as there were systems for when like Final Fantasy 15 launched and sold very, very well. I think that was a multi-console release. But yeah, I just think that they are in a way where with Final Fantasy, the problems are multifaceted. Sure, it's like, being exclusive is one problem, but also I think they aren't making the game that is exciting their fan base and bringing new people into the genre, which I think was the idea of let's make it an action game because we could bring new people in. And I don't think too many new people were actually won over, and some of the older fan base was a little alienated, and not necessarily because it's live or action-based combat. Yeah, because they didn't think the action-based combat did all that much or was all that enthralling. So maybe there's two options here. You could go more action-based, but make it very good, or make it unique at the very least, or try to go back to ground. Go turn-based and really go crazy with that and try some new possibilities in that space. Or a hybrid. There's a bunch of different stuff you can do. You know what? The Final Fantasy VII Remake battle system is fantastic, and it's a hybrid. It's got a bunch of stuff going on. So they do know how to do cool stuff with these things. So this is clearly not the entire problem, but I also do think they need to try something else than what they did in 16 for sure.
I remember enjoying Final Fantasy 16, Grubb, but in retrospect, now being removed from playing it however many years ago, I think one of the biggest detriments to that game specifically is that it was very lacking on the party aspect. Because now I just the only person I really remember, I only really remember two characters, and that's Ben Starr because he's Ben Starr, and then the actor that played Sid because he's like a prominent actor as well. Like he was in
Right.
Green Knight. I'm blanking out on his name.
The guy
now.
with the voice. Yeah.
Yeah, like yes, I can't even do it. Ralph Ineson, is that right?
Yeah,
Hey,
Ralph Ineson.
wow, pulled that out.
Good job.
And those are the only two characters I remember versus like in Clair Obscur, where I've become like very attached to every single party member for a variety of reasons. So again, the next Final Fantasy game has several problems it needs to address.
Yep. I don't envy them having to figure it out, but I think they've been shown that there are a lot of ways to figure it out. Baldur's Gate 3 is a very different kind of game, but it does show that there's a lot of sickos out there that want to get into their bullshit.
Yeah.
And then Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is also a different kind of game a little bit, but it's definitely also trying to be a Final Fantasy game in a lot of ways. The developers have straight up admitted that. And that has worked extremely well. And that also gets into its bullshit a little bit, but I think it's just like, no, we're just going to do a handful of things. We're going to do them super well. We're going to make sure the acting is good and the story is good, and that the combat is engaging, and there's a world that's cool. And it's like, oh yeah, I think if those are the boxes that Final Fantasy checks as well, it will be so far ahead of where it needs to be. Otherwise, it's like, give the fan base something to latch on to with the characters, the world, and then give them an engaging combat system, and you're gonna be good.
Yeah. The real reason, though, Grubb, and I know I appreciate everyone for dancing around the elephant in the room here of why maybe Final Fantasy XVI did not succeed as well as Square wanted it to, and how much outrage it gave the fans. It's because they tried to erase history, Grubb. They tried to erase that Donald Duck was one of the most powerful mages in the Final Fantasy universe by giving Joshua the ability to do the Zeta Flare. When really it should just be held to whoever did it first, and then Donald Duck.
I didn't know that, and I think you're onto something there. I did not know that they had a character in that game do the Zeta Flare, and I find that to be a little offensive. It's disrespectful to Donald Duck.
Yeah, is Krillin gonna do the Spirit Bomb in Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah,
no,
don't come on. That cheapens it. Don't cheapen it, Square.
Exactly. The Kamehameha means nothing now, Grubb.
Yeah,
everyone can do it.
It's like a super kick. Everyone's doing the super kick. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
Actually, Grubb, that is 100% spot on.
It's 100% what it is. Yeah.
The moonsault means nothing now either.
Yeah. Anyone could do it. What's the DDT? Is that the one where you have the headlock? Yeah. That everyone does a DDT. That used to be a finisher. Whatever. New free Astrobot update adds new stages and highly requested cameos. This is from Chris Melkin at DualShockers. Today's free Astrobot update has added some of the most highly requested cameos the game has seen so far. I won't spoil any of those because it's still fairly new if people want to go find out for themselves. But they have added a handful of new levels. I think it's 5 new levels, to the Vicious Void Galaxy, which brings the game's total number of stages to 90. And then to go along with that, there are several bots from several games and the relatively big names as well. So if you want to go in there and discover them for yourself, now's the time to do that. I'm gonna hop back in. It's been a minute since I played Astro.
Exciting.
Maybe do another Astro Open or something like that. I'm looking for. I don't want to get back into my complete sicko mode of I'm playing this game for 10 hours a day trying to set one time on one stage. I just don't have that time in my life anymore. But I wouldn't mind hey, let's go do a raw test of skills in this game at some point. That's fun in its own way.
Yeah, an exhibition match of sorts.
Exhibition match, yeah. Ghost of Yotei is getting a limited edition PlayStation 5. This is from Blair Marnell at GameSpot. This is kind of like small news tidbit that came out of that Ghost of Yotei State of Play last night. While the focus of the event was primarily on the gameplay and story, there's something special coming for fans of the game. Now Sony has unveiled the first look at the Ghost of Yotei limited edition PlayStation 5 bundles. There are 2 options for fans: Ghost of Yotei Gold limited edition bundle and Ghost of Yotei Black limited edition bundle. The Black model will be exclusively available through PlayStation's official store, while the Gold model will be sold everywhere else. Both bundles include a disc drive, a matching DualSense controller, and a digital copy of Ghost of Yotei with all pre-order bonuses. If you're watching the video version, you can kind of check it out there. I think it looks nice. I think it looks
very
pretty cool.
But Grubb, is this a pro?
No,
Well, what's the
no,
point?
yeah, they do this. They did this with PS4, right?
Mhm.
Where a lot of the limited editions would be the standard. I mean, the point is the standard sells way better. They always do, and this one sells really much better. Yeah, because if it's a pro, it would have like the 3 lines, right? And that just
Yeah.
has the 1 line.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the very least, like do it for both because these are just shells, right?
Yeah. Like
These are like it's nothing else is different about them other than the plastic you're putting on them. So just do it as a shell.
yeah. I know that we didn't talk over the state of play yesterday, Grub. But the fact that they're adding a lo-fi Samurai Champloo mode is insane, but I dig it. So I'm all with it. Also, fantastic that Erika Ishii is the main voice actor for this game.
Yep, that's very cool. I like that actor a lot. She's very, very excellent. So yep. Otherwise, the game looked pretty good. And I think that's
Yeah.
been the response from everyone. Is like, hey, this game looks really solid. Like they definitely have not screwed anything up. But they also might be like sort of taking it to the next level. I think it's hard to gauge that sort of thing from one of these state of plays.
I'm gonna put this out into ether now. I'm gonna Janifest this, Grub. We
Please.
know enough people that we might be able to convince Erika Ishii to go onto the dump truck. At least
That would be fun. Yeah, that'd be great. I would love to have them. That'd be excellent.
okay. I'm gonna call our people.
Okay, let's get him to work. I'm rubbing my hands together. All right, yeah. Ghost of Yotei is out October 2nd, and yeah, between that and Death Stranding 2, I guess we have a little bit of time. We were talking about this in the Bombcast a little bit or somewhere. 2 big games from PlayStation a year these days. That's kind of how it's been for the last couple of years. I don't think it's much of a complaint because the third party stuff is still there. Plenty of indie games to play on a PlayStation. But I do think people were expecting a more frequent release schedule from play. I guess they would be like, well, we also put out stuff like Concord last year and things like that, and they were trying that. But clearly, when we're talking about this, we're talking about a certain kind of game, and I get that making that kind of game is not their priority these days because there's a ceiling on it. But I do still think people were expecting more from Sony at this point in the console cycle. Do you feel that way?
Oh, 100%, Grub. I think about like the PS5 games that have been sticky, I guess is the word, and I think about AAA blockbuster single player experiences from Sony, and their most recent efforts haven't really grabbed me at all. So I can't imagine that they've grabbed a bunch of other people, especially if there's still so many people playing the Call of Duties, the PUBGs, the Fortnites on like a PS4, that they haven't felt the need to upgrade to PS5. However many years we're in now, Grub. I would have expected several God of Wars, another Uncharted, another Last of Us, another Ratchet and Clank, even. Bring out my boy Sly.
Yeah, they're definitely Sucker Punch is the team that makes that, right? They're definitely not making Sly. I think my feeling here is like, okay, then I look ahead, and it's like, man, okay, so the games I'm still looking forward to are mostly Insomniac games, Venom and Wolverine. And like Venom, we don't even know if is still happening. Although the latest reporting on that, the rumor mill on that is that Venom might come out next year, and then Wolverine won't come out till 2027. Which, I mean, okay, I would be okay with that. I really enjoyed playing as Venom in that game, even though Venom's not one of my most favorite characters. I still had a good time in Spider-Man 2 playing as Venom. But boy, that Wolverine game feels like it should have been here almost by now.
Yeah.
And is it really still 2 years off? I don't know. And then beyond that, I don't know. It's like a lot of big first party, the high budget games that you're talking about there that feel like, okay, Intergalactic will be here at some point. What else do they have to go along with that? And it doesn't seem like a ton. And that means a lot is riding on those massive games, which is where Sony doesn't want to be. They've been there for a while now. They've been trying to diversify, and they haven't been able to figure that out.
I know that I brought up The Last of Us, but I kind of don't want any more Last of Us unless it's a new game. Didn't they release a patch recently, like a
Yeah.
chronological order or a chronological mode or whatever?
Yes, they released it. They released chronological mode where you can play through the events of the Last of Us saga in chronological order. Um, which, hey, it's their thing. They could do what they want with it, and of course, I think it's worth pointing out that for one thing, I think that's kind of absurd. Kind of like removes the art of creating a story, but I will acknowledge this sort of thing is only for someone who has played through The Last of Us like 5 times and is like, what? Man, would it be weird to play through it chronologically? And so it's like, I don't want to be too poo-pooing on this because I know who it's for. Like, there's some things I've obsessed over enough to been like, maybe what if I did it chronologically? It's never the way I would do it the first, like my first
Sure.
watch through for anything. I would always do, like, even people recommend, here's the chronological order for like the Clone Wars or something like that. I'm like, no, I'm gonna watch everything in release order. That's the way I prefer to do things. But I could see someone getting something out of that. Still, another release of Last of Us, though, in some ways. They just go back to that well a lot. All right. I think that's going to do it for the headlines. In fact, it is going to do it for the headlines. Let's go ahead and get to the poll question from
Mr. Grubb.
yesterday.
Mr. Grubb,
Yes.
there's something funky going on because I
Oh,
posted
yeah?
a monolith poll yesterday, and it is no longer here.
Yeah, I could have swore I saw you post the poll. Is it scheduled? No. Is it
no.
archived? No. All right. Well, shoot. Well, let's run that poll again. What was it? Um, something about monolith. Blah blah blah. Do you remember what the details of it were?
Would you like Monolith
Right.
software to make another Xenoblade?
Yeah. Scrub and Grub says they voted in it. Like, yeah. Okay. Weird. All right. So we'll run that again. Do you want Monolith Soft's next game to be Xenoblade or something new? And then we'll do another poll question. Are you concerned about purchasing used games on your Switch too? Yes or no? And we're not gonna explain why you should be concerned because I want to like just see if this has begun to filter out. I'm gonna guess not yet, but we'll see. Okay, we'll get the results of those poll questions on the show on Monday here on Giant Bomb. Looking forward to that. Getting back into stuff next week after this weekend. In the meantime, though, speaking of Giant Bomb, what else do we have going on for the rest of it today? We have a UPF where we're
Yes.
going to do some sort of Tony Hawk race. We got to make sure we get everything set up correctly. But I think the idea is to like play through Tony Hawk's 4 inside of 3+4 to see who can get to the cruise ship the fastest. I'm sorry, 3. That's 3, not 4. I'm looking forward to it, although I don't expect to do very well. I'm good, quote unquote, at Tony Hawk, but that means at like doing tricks and stuff, not at finding shit. So we'll see. Anything else, Jen?
I believe that's it. We somehow, despite being a primarily 5-man +2 operation, we put out an obscene amount of stuff. Please go check out some of the social clips that Sean has been putting out on the socials. Make sure to like them, comment on them even, because Sean's been killing it over there. Chuck is also doing some fantastic work on the website. Demo Derby's coming up this weekend for your viewing pleasure. Voicemail dump truck yesterday. We did the Jantucky Derby yesterday as well. It is hilarious the amount of discourse is popping up on the subreddit about how upset people are. Some people are upset about how that was handled.
It was fine. Well, are they upset that we were like kind of thought that sexualized girls were sexualized girls? Is that what they're upset about?
Yeah.
You guys, come on, come on. Like, look, I get it's not the horny game, but the whole genre just is what it is. So, like, they're not old men, right? They're not. It's not old men that are horse. It's not horsemen. Like, come on. Whatever.
If people feel a little bit of shame playing Uma Musume out in public, that is all that needs to be said.
Yeah, right. Just if you were like, if your girlfriend walked in, how would you feel? That's all we're talking about. And also, I'm not trying to make you feel shame. You loud and proud. Hey, Jan, I'm proud of you for playing Uma Musume. All right.
You.
I want you to know it. And I'm proud of anyone out there. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it. All right. We did the poll questions. We said what's happening on the website. We'll be back with some new fun stuff next week. Jan, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talk about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
What a fun way to end the week.
Yeah, there it is. And thank you everybody for watching and listening. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself and goodbye.
Yummy like a gummy bear.